Hello, and welcome to our webinar, Sci-Fi, Fantasy, Adventure, and Horror. I'm Susan Maguire, Senior Editor, Collection Management and Library Outreach here at Booklist. Before we begin, I'd like to go over some technical details. Links to today's slide presentation and title list were included in the reminder email you received from Zoom 1 hour ago. To download them, please open that email, scroll to the bottom, and click on the links located there. You can also download the slides and title list by typing the URLs on this screen into your web browser. If you have any trouble accessing these materials, please contact us at webinars@booklistonline.com. The audience is in listen-only mode, but we welcome any questions you may have. On the bottom of your screen is a toolbar with a button for Q&A. If you have a question or need technical assistance, simply click Q&A and type your message into the box that appears. We will do our best to respond to all tech-related questions, and we'll pass along all other questions to today's panelists so they can follow up with you after the webinar. Booklist offers closed captioning on all webinars. To enable or disable captions on your screen, please look for and click the captions icon on the toolbar mentioned earlier. From there, you can select show or hide captions from the menu that appears. If you choose to enable subtitles, you can adjust the size of the captions at any time by selecting caption settings. And finally, Booklist expects all participants to maintain an atmosphere of respect and fairness. Anyone who violates the standard of behavior, including engaging in any form of harassment, may, at the discretion of the organizers, be immediately removed. Today, we have the pleasure of hearing from Emily Ludloff, Associate Manager for Libraries at Sourcebooks, Lainey Mays, Assistant Manager, Library Marketing at HarperCollins, Amanda Cromarco, Director of Library Marketing at Macmillan, and Elham Ali, Trade Marketing Manager at ECW Press. First, we'll hear from Emily Ludloff. Emily is the Associate Manager for Libraries at Sourcebooks. She previously worked as a digital marketer with some of the top names in the music industry in Nashville, Tennessee, but ultimately could not resist the pull of her first love, books. Thanks for joining us, Emily.
Thank you so much. Hello, everyone. I'm so excited to chat with you on this great Thursday about some featured fantasy, sci-fi, and adventure and horror titles coming soon from your friends at Sourcebooks. Next. My name is Emily Ludloff, and I'm Associate Marketing Manager for Libraries at Sourcebooks. You can follow us on our listed socials here to stay up to date with our latest news, galleys, and free resources. Of course, please feel free to email me with any questions you may have. And now what you've all been waiting for, let's go on to the books. Next slide. All right, we are going to get mystical and magical with some of our fantasy titles to start out with. Next slide, please. In Wickedly Ever After, Wicked Witch Hector West and Good Witch Ida North have maintained the balance of good and evil for over 1,000 years. But even witches need a hobby, and every spare moment they have is spent antagonizing each other. But when Ida's latest harmless hex goes too far, Hector retaliates with a curse that immediately backfires, making her choose the wrong princess for the year's big pantomime. One reluctant prince and a badly botched dragon kidnapping later, both Hector and Ida are determined to set things right. Yet, as they unravel what went wrong with their mixed-up magic, Hector and Ida will have to face a more daunting challenge than trying to avoid their own wickedly ever after, deciding whether a millennium worth of enemies might have been the biggest mistake of their very long lives. Next slide, please. Something Wicked This Way comes in The Most Unusual Haunting of Edgar Lovejoy, a delightfully spooky yet cozy LGBTQIA+ romance. Jamie creates haunted houses for a living. Edgar Lovejoy is actually 100% haunted. When they meet, these opposites are definitely attracted. But while Jamie's biggest concern is that Edgar seems a bit stiff and distant, Edgar's fears are much greater. Not only is he scared of encountering ghosts anytime he leaves the house, but he's terrified of making himself vulnerable to Jamie, no matter how deep the feelings between them grow. After all, how do you tell someone who doesn't believe in ghosts that you see them everywhere you go? Next slide, please. Anathema is a spellbinding gothic dark fantasy from USA Today bestselling author Carrie Lake, perfect for fans of immersive world building, brooding anti-heroes, and stories where love and darkness walk hand in hand. Mavis knows never to enter Witchnell, the deadly forest known as the Eating Woods, until a tragedy forces her past its bone-marked threshold. Inside, she discovers a forbidden realm and a dark, alluring lord who rules it, Zvander, the cursed assassin known as the Scorpion. Tasked with hiding Mavis from those who would kill her for a dangerous prophecy, Zvander soon realizes her blood may hold the key to breaking his curse and awakening an ancient evil. But as his obsession with Mavis grows, so does the danger and feelings to them both. Next slide, please. All right, The Hearth Witch's Guide to Magic and Murder is a cozy mystery, perfect for fans of The House in the Cerulean Sea and Legends and Lattes. When a surge in supernatural crime threatens to expose London's hidden Fae society, the Winter Council reluctantly enlists Avery Hemlock, a changeling just released from 500 years of nightmares. Whew, sounds terrible. Socially awkward and centuries out of touch, Avery must solve the case or lose her hard-won freedom. Meanwhile, Saga Trigg, fresh off heartbreak and dropping out of med school, is trying to rebuild her life through witchcraft, until her mysterious new neighbor reveals a magical world she never imagined. As the two women form an unlikely bond, they uncover a threat far more personal than expected, and Avery will stop at nothing to protect her first true friend in centuries. Next slide, please. All right, Thrown in the Dark is a fun fantasy perfect for fans of Assistant to the Villain and The Princess Bride. With a demon for a father, Damien's destiny could be nothing short of nefarious. All it will take to solidify world domination is the completion of his most vicious spell yet. But then, a tiny yet troublesome thief calling herself Amma completely upsets Damien's malevolent plans when she mistakenly gets chained to his side through magic. Forced to drag her across the realm on his unholy crusade, Damien knows that killing her would fix things, of course, but the nauseatingly sweet Amma somehow begins to prove herself useful. And worse yet, she then proves herself to be the source of something even more sinister. Feelings. Next slide, please. All right, An Arcane Inheritance is a modern-day dark academia speculative fantasy with a romantic twist. It's perfect for fans of Babel and A Deadly Education. Ellery Morgan is determined to earn her place at Warren University, a prestigious school steeped in eerie rumors and occult secrets. But a strange déjà vu creeps in and she discovers a tattoo with the word remember written on her handwriting. Ellery realizes this isn't her first time at Warren. She's been trapped in a repeating illusion for 3 years. Her only ally is Hudson Graves, an infuriating legacy student who shares her distrust of the school. As they unravel Warren's dark magic and hidden history, powerful enemies close in. With time running out and Hudson's secrets threatening everything, Ellery must uncover who is controlling her mind before she forgets herself again. Next slide, please. Okay, on to some books filled with adventure and wanderlust. Next slide, please. Female fantasy is an unhinged, fun, brilliant cross-country romp. Men in the real world have done nothing for Junie but disappoint her time and time again. So she keeps her heart reserved for Reich, the fictional male lead of her favorite romance series, who, just happens to be a merman. But when she learns that Reich's character is based off a friend of the author, Junie is determined to track him down and take her shot at a happily ever after. She'll need to borrow her brother's car for the road trip, with one condition, that his annoying but also hot best friend can catch a ride to New York with her. But as she makes her way to her male lead, she'll learn that once you wish fantasy into reality, you have to take all the tropes that come with it, and not just the fun ones. Next slide, please. All right, Take a Hike is a quirky, adventure-filled romance from Katie Ruggles. I personally adore this series. This one follows bounty hunter Charlie Pax, who is desperate. Her mother's vanished after putting their family home on the line, and if she doesn't turn up soon, Charlie and her sisters will lose everything. Her solution? Head to Colorado, using herself as bait to draw her mother out. There she crosses paths with Kieran Byrne, a gruff firefighter accused of murder who needs help clearing his name. They strike a deal. Charlie helps him, and he'll help her track her mom. But as danger closes in and sparks fly, Charlie and Kieran must decide if there's room for love in lives built on survival. Next slide, please. All right, Where the Wildflowers Grows is an adventure, both in finding yourself and healing after trauma. Oh, okay, and also with a bit of adventuring across Alabama. It's a bit of a stretch, but hear me out here. Surviving is nothing new to Lee, so when the transport bus taking her to prison runs off the road, killing everyone aboard except her, she does what's in her nature. Lee survives and starts walking. Quick to realize nobody is looking for her, Lee takes her chance, eventually stumbling upon a remote flower farm in Alabama. The farm, run by Jackson, a local do-gooder with big dreams of his own, seems the perfect place to hide. As time passes, Lee finds herself at peace with the slow life and small trials of the farm, taking solace among the flowers and the family that Jackson has built. But the past isn't so easily buried, and soon enough Lee is faced with a devastating choice. Can she leave her transgressions and enjoy the life she has built, or is the truth of who she is her only path to redemption? All right, next slide, please. All right, now we're getting into the spooky, scary section. We're going to get into some spine-tingling horror. Next slide, please. All right, Firefest meets the Blair Witch Project and how bad things can get. Prosperity Island is infamous for shipwrecks, cannibalism, and mysterious deaths. And now is the setting of a massive influencer-hosted party because, of course, over 100 fans arrive for 5 days of wild games and luxury, including a woman hiding a violent past and a journalist chasing the next big scandal. But when guests start disappearing, the fun turns deadly. As paranoia spreads and secrets unravel, everyone must ask, is this a dream getaway or a trap with no escape? What lies beneath the island's glittering surface could be more terrifying than anyone imagined? Next slide, please. Breathe In, Bleed Out is A Midsummer's Night Scream from horror author Brian McCauley. Haunted by the mysterious death of her fiancé during a wilderness trip, Hannah is plagued by waking nightmares and desperate for a fresh start. When her friends score an invite to an exclusive spiritual retreat, she reluctantly joins, hoping for some healing. And at first, this tech-free sanctuary, complete with yoga, sound baths, and hot springs, seems to help. But it quickly descends into a violent fight for self-preservation when a mysterious killer starts picking off retreat attendees in increasingly gruesome ways. As the body count rises and Hannah's sanity frays, she'll have to confront her dark past and uncover the true nature of a ruthless monster hell-bent on killing her vibe for good. Next slide. In Body of Water, it's been 6 years since Glenn Masters lost his wife, and he decides to take his grieving daughter on a road trip through the Appalachians, hoping to reconnect. But a routine diner stop spirals into terror when 2 strangers burst in, raving about deadly living water, and it's attacking people nearby. At first dismissed as madness, their warning proves horrifyingly real. The water is alive, merciless, and devours anything in its path. Trapped and cut off, Glenn, his daughter, and a group of strangers must confront the impossible, battle fear, and rely on each other to survive. As the entity closes in, escaping means facing the past or losing everything. Next slide, please. The Forest of Missing Girls is an atmospheric thriller from Nichelle Giraldes that'll make you question whether you can trust anyone, even those closest to you. Leah Gregg always hoped she would outgrow her her fear of the woods surrounding her childhood home. Girls much like Leah have disappeared into them for years, never to be seen again. It's been quiet lately, but when a breakup sends Leah back home, she finds that the woods are just as unsettling as she remembers, and that her mother knows more about what's hiding within these trees than anyone could have ever guessed. Next slide, please. And last but not least, And the Sea Gave Up the Dead features creepy kids, a rundown chateau, and a gripping exploration of grief, following Morwena, who, after receiving a disturbing call about her ailing Aunt Bethan, reluctantly returns to the family's decaying seaside chateau in France. Oh, so terrible. A place haunted by grief and the mystery of her uncle's long ago disappearance. Okay, yeah, kind of bad. Locals still whisper that Bethan is to blame, but Morena believes her aunt simply needs care and company. With her children and new partner in tow, she plans to stay for a week. But the chateau has a dark legacy the village hasn't forgotten, one of death, resurrection, and something ancient steering beneath its walls. As strange events escalate, Morwena must uncover the truth before history repeats itself. Ooh, I have so much fun doing these. Next slide. And that's all the books I have for you today. But please feel free to reach out to me at my email here if you have any questions. And don't forget to vote for Library Reads. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Emily. Next, we'll hear from Lainey Mays. Lainey is the Assistant Manager, Library Marketing at HarperCollins Publishers. Check out her new book recommendation website, Bookmarked by Lainey. You'll find reads color-coded by genre, hand-picked for librarians and their patrons to savor. The floor is yours, Lainey.
Thank you. It's nice to be here with everyone. I hope everyone's having a good day. And on the next slide, we're gonna go into a little housekeeping. So I just want to tell you about some events. All of this is on librarylovefest.com. So if you want to go dive in there, I won't go into too much detail, but the main thing is Writers to Watch at the top. It's our monthly author event. And we do a few authors on every month, and we talk about their new book and take questions from the audience. We just did one on Tuesday, and Mitch Albom and Catherine Newman were two of the authors. It was fantastic. So you can watch that replay. I'm going to talk about another author who was on that event later on, so keep an ear out. And yeah, everything you can find us on. So the next slide, this is the Edelweiss catalog if you want to take a look at our books, but you also have the title list. And the next slide, we're going to get going. So the way I've set it up is we're going to do like a few different like genres together. So we did sci-fi at the beginning, and then maybe a few of them will have roundup slides with just some quick info on some books I don't want you to miss, but we'll go a little longer on some. Okay, so the first one is The Hospital at the End of the World by Justin C. Key. Justin is a practicing psychiatrist and a speculative fiction writer. I don't know how he has the time. I don't know, but he is a great writer, and you might know him from the story collection, The World Wasn't Ready for You. It got a lot of press and a lot of love, and now we're excited to have his first novel. So it's set in a near future. Society is run by a global AI system controlled by an all-powerful corporation, the Shepherd Organization. They oversee every medical school in the country except for one in New Orleans, where it's human-led medicine there. That's very different. And it's the last choice school for an ambitious young New Yorker named Puck. And after his father, himself a physician, dies under mysterious circumstances that seem connected to the Shepherds, and their megalomaniacal, I had to practice saying that because it's a tongue twister, young CEO, Puck finds himself on a quest for answers that leads right to this school. So once he's enrolled, he stumbles through a further mystery, the strange illness plaguing newcomers who grew up under Shepherd rule. So what's causing this, and how does it relate to his own father's death and mysterious past? The novel flips the traditional sci-fi and horror elements. It's kind of genre blending and socially relevant. I mean, also this author has a lot of medical experience, so that will come through. And if you liked Poster Girl by Veronica Roth or like Lakewood by Megan Giddings, this is going to be the read for you. It's got a little something for everyone, and I think this author is someone to watch. On the next slide, we're going to talk about fantasy. We're going to fantasy. Next is Our Vicious Oaths by Annie Davenport. So Annie Davenport is a science fiction fantasy author of The Blood Trials and its sequel, The Blood Gift. This new book is going to be a standalone paperback original, and the book is firmly romantasy, which is really a shift for this author who usually does more of a sci-fi angle. So we have a princess who wants nothing to do with Fey politics, and she's a warrior first and foremost, but she really thinks her greatest strength is leading her squadron of elite winged serpent flyers, and she wants to protect her homeland. But she's betrothed to the Hyperion High King, who rules all dominions since infancy. And so she's kind of repulsed by the idea of having to do this. So she spends a night of freedom, and she finds someone who matches her want for freedom and kind of sends her to sexual heights and she's never experienced before, but it's a one-night stand. But really, maybe what we see is this person maybe was using her to set a trap for the king. So now it's her wedding day, and the special forces are attacking from this person that she's met, and she's taken hostage, but she's given a pact, help lure the king there, and her people are free. So it's, obviously, like, there's this attraction there. So you get some fake dating, you get some enemies to lovers, and there's a lot of chili peppers. Katie Roberts said this is an instant romantasy classic. On the next slide, we have Son of the Morning. This author was on Writers to Watch. You can go hear from Makweke and Mezi yourself, and it was fantastic, but I want to tell you a little bit about the book. So this is a steamy paranormal romantasy, including a throuple. They are a New York Times bestselling author, a finalist for the National Book Award for Young People's Literature, could go on, but extremely accomplished. Their novel follows Galilee, who is a tenderhearted character raised by a formidable group of Black women in the South. And she's always felt different, but there's something that's been mysterious around her whole existence. And she meets Lucifer, who is head of security for a friend's family to protect an ancient artifact. Immediately, she knows he's not human, and he knows she's not human. And their attraction grows. He's Lucifer's trusted prince of hell. And this other person, Leviathan, is determined to eradicate the threat. So now that's our throuple. And we have the whole novel is very steamy, outstanding, and one hell of a ride. So please go hear more from this author. They were on our event Tuesday. Next is Heart Song by S.E. Wendell. Okay, y'all, this chat, the in-house launch was wild. Everyone was so excited about this. And I saw the words Shadow Daddy way more than I would ever expect to read from my colleagues, but it was very funny. So this is a steamy monster romance. It was published previously, so the ebook is available now, but it's going to be in this paperback version coming in February. And then next fall, we have the next book coming for the first time. So 1,500 years ago, gargoyle warrior Frey, now a gargoyle, was a warrior, and his kind were cursed by their Fey queen. Their magic was stolen, frozen in time. And he's a proud warrior. He fights against this stone prison, but every year that passes, hope slips away that this curse will be broken. And then we have Anna, who has got kind of the too good to be true dream, managing a museum. And when she comes, the owners are a little mysterious, and the collection is monstrous. And the museum is stormed by masked commandos one night, and it isn't even the weirdest thing to happen. One of the statues comes alive to save her. It's got fated mates, he falls first, close proximity, fish out of water, and if you love Ruby Dixon, you'll love this one. And then I just have a quick roundup of a couple. We have Silver and Blood by Jessie Mahalik, well-loved author. This is kind of pivoting from space opera to fantasy romance. It's a deadly mission to kill a mythical beast in the haunted woods, and desperate mage finds her fate intertwined with a handsome, powerful man to save her. Then we have The Astral Library by Kate Quinn. This is like new for Kate Quinn. It's crazy, it's great, it's fantastical adventure. There's a badass librarian, and it opens worlds into this secret library, but don't worry, she's still writing historical fiction. But this is her true love letter to librarians. And then next, quickly, we have Good Spirits. This is an amazing book by B.K. Borison. We're so excited to have them on our list. New paranormal romance. Ghost of Christmas Past, falling in love with the woman he's been tasked to haunt. I don't know what else I have to tell you. Put you in the spirit. You're welcome. Good Christmassy magic. Next, we have a horror. So we're going to go on to A Steep and Savage Path. This is Harwood's debut Shadow in the Glass was a bestseller in the UK and Canada. And this new book, I love the cover, it's so cool. But this read was wonderful. It's a standalone, it brings mythology and adventure together for a romantic read. It's not very spicy, it's got good YA crossover, but it's got just enough. And it's about a woman, Irina, who lives in a Transylvanian village. She has become the village sacrifice for the wedding of the dead, a desperate ritual designed to get this hungry vampire terrorizing them to leave them alone. But she has ulterior motives. Her sister's soul is trapped in the land of the dead, so she needs someone who can walk between the worlds to bring her. As they start this journey, she decides, like, I'll marry him and I'll save you, but I also need him, and she tells him he can have as much blood as he needs from her as they go on this journey. So while they're there, maybe she sees that maybe he's not this horrible person or horrible creature that the village knows. And it's really interesting. I think that there's a lot to dive into this as well. Just about like, what would you do? Okay, and next is Mama Came Calling. Cool cover. So this is Ezra, well established in both graphic novel and horror media space. They write for Severance. And then we have a really cool illustrator coming in as well. It's a graphic horror novel set in the Florida Bayou. So this is about, and go to Edelweiss to look at some spreads. I should have put them in here, but you can see a couple of examples. So Kira was born in an improbable interracial relationship that in Central Florida defied all odds. And in her idyllic childhood, it was shattered by an urban legend come to life, the Gator Man, a nightmare on the lips of kids and grown-ups alike, really, all the way back to Jim Crow. A monster with the body of a man, head of an alligator, and a taste for Black children. That's who crawled into her window when she was 5 years old. According to the police, that was her own father who put on a gator mask and tried to kill her. 20 years later, Kira works hard to build a life unburdened by the traumatic events of her childhood, but now her dad, fresh out of prison, comes back into her world with a chilling message. He's coming for you. She's going to have to face her family's past. It's kind of a clever hybrid of, I love this, swamp noir, slasher horror, and social satire. But it's about family and legacies and kind of emotional. There's a great Paul Tremblay quote on the screen. And like I said, go look at some of the images. They're really, really cool. Next, Afterbirth by Emma Cleary. This is mommy horror. It's a literary debut by Emma Cleary. Abandoning the ruins of her stalled life in an ill-omened romance, Brooke flies to Vancouver to care for her estranged sister, Izzy, who's recovering from reproductive surgery. Izzy's rapidly decaying apartment building and its hallways stalked by an ominous crone, only known as Medusa, offers little refuge to Brooke. And seeking solace in the horror movies her ex-girlfriend loved, Brooke soon finds traces of horror bleeding out of the screen into their lives. And so we grapples with the themes of maternity and sisterhood and bodily autonomy in the vein of bestsellers like Nut Bitch and Mothering, Baby Teeth. It's an exploration of the negative side effects of loss of bodily autonomy and a haunting cautionary tale of what happens when the choice to reproduce is taken out of the hands of women. I think it's going to be very timely, and there's a lot of different kinds of family structures represented here. Next, we have just a couple roundups. Galloway's Gospel by Sam Rebeline. Back in Edenville, Edenville and Poorly Made and Other Things are both stories set in the same ill-fated Renfield County. This goes back to that, about two women. And then we have King Sorrow, the new Joe Hill. It's going to be exciting. Next, we have The Macabre by Cosco Jackson. It's his adult speculative debut, standalone novel. And then we're going to go on to the next speculative. We have The Merge by Grace Walker. This cover is so cool. Amelia can't face the fact that her 65-year-old mother, Lori, has Alzheimer's, so she signs them up for an experimental process. In this, the ailing mind will be transformed to a healthy body, and minds become one and blend together. It's a new that's the speculative part. It puts two people in one body. And so they join this mysterious group of people who have participated in this, and they get ready to move to a place called the Village, which is basically a fancy rehab. And they question whether everything is as it seems as they go through this process. It's thought-provoking. It's a really interesting read. It reminds me of The Substance in a way, like those kind of questions of what would you do in one body. And then next, just quickly, we have Women of Wild Hill by Kirsten Miller, witchy tale about the war waged on the patriarchy, and Murder Most Haunted. Emma Mason was a former detective constable of the Thames Valley Police. Sold. I don't feel like I have to say much, but it asks a locked room mystery question. Would you rather be snowed in with a ghost or a murderer? Next, and the last little section, I just want to quickly put in this nonfiction read because it fits well within all of our genre, especially horror, thriller, but horror specifically because Zephyr Lazowski is a trans and queer writer, artist, and North Carolinian living in New York City. They have so much, their poetry is everywhere, like a very well-established author. But this is a really interesting, sharply personal, and expansive essay collection dedicated to the strange absurdity and beauty of horror films. It's intimate, it's honest, and it really goes there. But it's a really fascinating story collection. So I wanted to bring some personal nonfiction into this as well because I think it fits these themes as well. But a lot of crossover for different kind of fans and those seeking answers in the terrifying world we live in. Okay, the next, just note you have the list of other books, and I'm gonna wrap up. I wish I could talk to you all day. We have lots of fun books coming. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Lainey. Next, we'll hear from Amanda Cromarco. Amanda is the Director of Library Marketing. After saying farewell to her home state of Georgia and attending NYU Summer Publishing Institute, Amanda joined the library marketing world and never looked back. A longtime lover of libraries, Amanda loves to share her passion for all things fantasy, sci-fi, romance, and horror, but she'll read anything that comes with a good recommendation. Take it away, Amanda.
Hi, thank you so much. Like she said, I'm Amanda Cromarco with Macmillan, and I am definitely so excited to be here with you all today to talk about some of my favorite genres. This slide here has all of the ways that you can get in touch with us. So please feel free to reach out if you have any questions, want to be whitelisted for our e-galleys, have any ARC requests, anything and everything. And then we'll go on to the books. So next up, my first book is Graceless Heart by Isabella Bañez. In the alluring city of 15th century Florence, a sculptress's forbidden magic becomes both her greatest asset and her most dangerous secret. As love and war intertwine, her choices will determine the fate of a city on the brink of unraveling. This is the adult debut from the best-selling YA author of What the River Knows, and it'll be great for readers who enjoy political schemes, scandalous romance, and clever twists with that lush Renaissance setting. My next book is The Poet Empress by Shen Tao. In the waning years of the Azalea dynasty, as the emperor is dying, the land consumed by famine, and poetry magic lost to all except for the powerful, a young woman offers herself as concubine to the cruel heir of the beautiful and brutal Azalea house and finds herself on the knife edge of civil war. To survive, she must harden her heart, rely on her wit, and become dangerous herself by becoming a poet and composing the most powerful spell of all. This debut introduces readers to a lush, deadly world, perfect for fans of She Who Became the Sun. Next is The Bone Queen by Will Schindler. This is the author's first book available in the US. It is a pulse-pounding thriller infused with creepy folklore horror that will keep readers' adrenaline pumping and pages turning. It follows a woman looking for her teenage daughter, and the search takes her to a small village where a dark legend of a vengeful woman called the Bone Queen terrorizes the locals. The village's grip on reality starts to loosen, and no one can say who or what is responsible for the deaths and disappearances. This will be great for fans of The House of Last Resort, The Wicker Man, or Night Will Find You. Next is The Forest on the Edge of Time by Jasmine Kirkbride. The future of another timeline meets the bone clocks in this dazzling piece of time travel climate fiction about two women recruited to change history and save the future from ecological disaster, who are transported through time to opposite worlds. One to work as a healer's assistant in ancient Athens, the other to the distant future as the last human left alive in a laboratory on a polluted island with nothing but tiny robots and an untrustworthy AI for company. Both women suffer from amnesia, but when they fall asleep, their consciousnesses transcend time and they meet in their dreams. Together, they start to uncover their past, but soon discover the past threatens humanity's survival. Intelligent climate fiction is more popular than ever from authors like Jeff Vandermeer and Ray Naylor, and time travel is a perennial reader favorite, and I would hand this to fans of This Is How You Lose the Time War, or even kind of that level of dystopia like The Road. Next is The Body by Bethany C. Morrow. This follows a woman still healing from religious trauma who must survive a series of bizarre and escalating attacks on her marriage. This savvy and smart social horror will sit right alongside Chuck Tingle's Camp Damascus and C.J. Leeds' American Rapture, as well as propulsive and dangerous psychological thrillers like My Sister the Serial Killer, Behind Her Eyes by Sarah Penborough, and When No One Is Watching by Alyssa Cole. Next, in The Red Winter, debut author Cameron Sullivan tells the story of the first werewolf. It's the early 1800s and a monster stalks the French countryside. A monster hunter is called in to finish what he started 20 years ago when the creature first appeared, and now he'll contend with unfinished business, his demonic counterpart, and the inquisitorial eye of the French clergy while the country itself teeters on the edge of revolution. This folktale retelling of the story of the beast of Gévaudan blends the meticulously researched world building of Jonathan Strange and Mr. Norrell with the dark fantasy sensibilities of Interview with a Vampire. Next is Dollface by Lindy Ryan. This delightfully murderous novel that is equal parts scathing and salacious follows a horror author recently moved to the suburbs, hoping to fit in with the PTA moms and not weird everyone out with her final girl mug. But then a plastic face mask serial killer begins slashing their way through town, one overly made-up mom at a time, and she is slowly wrapped into the killer's murderous spree until she might be the last woman standing. It's a blend of frothy fun, murderous rampage, all wrapped up in 1990s nostalgia. This will be great for fans of the Final Girl support group and killers of a certain age. Next is Hell's Heart by Alexis Hall. The author of Boyfriend Material turns their eye to sci-fi for the first time with a monster hunting space romp that's Gideon the Ninth meets Moby Dick. It's hilarious, inventive, and totally readable with zero knowledge of Moby Dick, though fans, I think, will definitely adore it. Hell's Heart is full of space whales, anti-capitalist philosophy, and messy lesbian love triangles, perfect for fans of Ancillary Justice and Murderbot. Next, Crawl Space by Adam Christopher. This book has one of my favorite creepy covers, and if it's not coming across well enough on my slideshow, I encourage you to go just check it out on Edelweiss. A space crew prepares for a test flight that will alter the course of humanity, but as they journey between dimensions, the fabric of reality seems to thin as ancient forces gather outside. Like Caitlin Starling's The Luminous Dead and S.A. Barnes's Dead Silence, Crawl Space marries the wonder and scope of the best science fiction with the terror and anxiety that come with horror. Lovers of space horror classics will absolutely devour this book. Next is You Did Nothing Wrong by C.G. Drews. C.G. Drews is the author of Don't Let the Forest In, among other books, and Don't Let the Forest In was a huge hit in the YA horror sphere. Now their adult debut will be perfect for fans of The Push and Baby Teeth, about a woman who moves with her new husband and autistic son into a new home, but her son claims he can hear voices in the walls and that their renovations are hurting the house. Something strange is going on, but is it with her son or with the house? This is a clever take on a haunted house novel that examines secrets, motherhood, and the twisted bonds of family. Next is This Kingdom Will Not Kill Me by Alona Andrews. I could not be more excited about this book. I've been a big fan of this husband and wife duo for years, and this book was absolutely tailor-made for me. and for any fantasy reader out there. It follows a woman who is a huge fan of an unfinished fantasy book series who one day wakes up in that world, placed right when the series begins. She knows the characters, their thoughts and motivations, knows what's going to happen as the realm descends into war, and she decides to use her knowledge to try to defy the timeline and stop the war and death and destruction from happening. Anyone who's ever squealed and cheered at a good fight scene will feel so seen, and it's got slow burn romance, great found family, humor, and heart. This series is going to be so fun, back in the vibes of their Cade Daniels series, but also fun for any fantasy fan out there. Next is The Subtle Art of Folding Space. John Chu is an established name in short-form science fiction, and his stories have been nominated for and won Hugo and Nebula Awards. This is his full-length debut that richly combines everything everywhere all at once and Charles Yu's how to live safely in a science fictional universe. As the universe falls apart, a woman must confront her mother's legacy and overcome her family's generational trauma while trying to fix the bugs in the physics of this universe. This book definitely weaves together family dynamics and trauma against the backdrop of quantum physics and food, and will be a lot of fun for fans of Dark Matter or Marvel's Loki show. Next is Morsel by Carter Keene. This novella is a delicious folk horror tale perfect for fans of T. Kingfisher, Cassandra Caw, and Paul Tremblay. A woman is determined to climb the corporate ladder and takes an assignment in the rural hills of Ohio and quickly finds herself stranded in the middle of nowhere with a sabotage truck, a dog she's determined to keep safe, and something stalking her through the ancient Appalachian woods. If she can't escape the woods in time, she'll come face to face with the fact that her job isn't the only thing that wants to eat her alive. Examined through a horror lens, Morsel tackles timely social issues such as anti-capitalism, the burden of generational poverty, and the cult of toxic positivity. Readers who loved Parasite, Ready or Not, and The Menu, looking for their next Eat the Rich fantasy, will devour this book. Next is Celestial Lights by Cecile Penn. This charts the life of the most renowned astronaut of his time, from his birth the day the Challenger shuttle falls from the sky, through being tapped to lead a mission to Europa, to a choice that will send his whole world spinning. As the crew speeds through space, he mourns the life he has left behind and dreamed of a future that only he can bring about. A breathtaking tale of memory, personal choices, and the relationships that define us, Celestial Lights will make every reader marvel at the night sky while cherishing the connections that make our planet home. Next. West of Wicked by Nikki St. Crow is the dark romantasy version of The Wizard of Oz that every Wicked fan wants next. All of your favorite characters make appearances, but nothing and no one is what they seem in the cursed land of Oz, and even Dorothy herself. Nikki St. Crow is a best-selling indie author that we are so excited to bring to our list, following in the footsteps of authors like Carissa Broadbent, Runix, and Harper L. Woods. This dark, spicy retelling is for anyone who wants the villain to get the girl while the girl gets the power, and it is the start of a trilogy. Next, Dark is When the Devil Comes by Daisy Pierce. Something in the Walls, her previous book, just came out this February and was a Library Reads pick among other accolades, and I am just so excited for her next horror thriller. A woman plans to return home in the wake of her embarrassing divorce and crumbling personal life, but she never shows up. Now her sister knows something isn't adding up as other townspeople whisper of the threat in the restless woods. If you read Something in the Walls, then you know how well she writes creeping dread that then just absolutely goes off the walls. And I am excited to dive into this one. Next, I have just a collection of some familiar faces for you guys, some authors that you may know about, and we'll be excited to hear are coming up with some new books. Nowhere Burning by Katrina Ward, the author of The Last House on Needless Street, Sundial, Looking Glass Sound, and more, returns with the story of feral children on an abandoned ranch with something dark living in its depths. It's the perfect next read for fans of the show Yellow Jackets. Wolfworm by T. Kingfisher. Both T. Kingfisher's fantasy and horror are perennial librarian favorites, and this new Gothic masterpiece reveals something darker than the devil stalks the North Carolina woods in 1899. and Green and Deadly Things by Jin Lyons. The acclaimed author of The Ruin of Kings returns with an adventurous standalone fantasy of necromancy and magical mayhem, perfect for fans of S.A. Chakraborty, Robin Hobb, and Martha Wells's Witch King. And next slide. That is it for me. Thank you so much for hanging out with us this afternoon. Please reach out if you have any questions.
Thank you so much, Amanda. Finally, we'll hear from Elham Ali. Elham graduated from the University of Toronto in 2014. Since completing the Humber College Publishing Program, she has worked in marketing and publicity roles at Canada's Ballet Jorgen, Penguin Random House Canada, and Dundurn Press. She joined ECW Press as senior publicist in 2020 and has been serving as the trade marketing manager since 2024. Thanks for joining us, Elham.
Thank you so much for having me. I hope everyone's having a great day. I'm always happy to be back with Booklist at these webinars, and I'm so excited to talk to you about some sci-fi, fantasy, adventure, and horror that ECW has coming this fall. Next slide. So if you don't know us, ECW Press is one of Canada's largest independent publishers. We've been around for 50 years, and we've done over 1,000 books, and our thing is truly that we have something for every reader. But interestingly, sci-fi, fantasy, speculative fiction, and horror are genres that we're really growing in the last few years. And so I'm really excited to be bringing you these books, which feature a lot of debuts and a lot of really interesting takes on the genre. Next slide. We start with a fantasy debut. Seventh Blade by Tanya Laird is a fast-paced, anti-colonial, secondary world adventure. Our main character is Terelis, a half-god, half-human who wants answers and revenge after her adopted son June is murdered. Consumed by her grief, Terelis decides that she's going to perform a harrowing ritual using her mother's ancient sword that's going to allow her to communicate with her son's corpse. But as they do, the ritual backfires, and instead she ends up bound with June's spirit and with a dark power that's brewing inside of her. But she does learn that a woman named Fei-Hun is the one who's responsible for June's killing, and so Terelis sets out to the colonizer city of Seventh Blade on a quest for revenge. I love to describe this book as like a gender bent magical Taken scenario where you follow a mother as she goes to any length to avenge her child. What I love about this book too is that it makes space for angry, tough women, whereas a lot of fantasies tend to be coming of age stories. Here you're following an older woman who's really settled into herself. She knows her power and what she's capable of, and we really don't get a lot of protagonists like that. This is Tanya's debut novel, but she is a Métis writer and also a video game writer. She's written for video games like Dragon Age 2 and Dragon Age Inquisition, and you really get a sense of that video game sensibility in the characters and the fantastic world building that she does in the novel. It's perfect for fans of N.K. Jemisin and Rebecca Roanhorse, and we're so excited to be bringing this powerful new voice to the market, and we know that fans will love it. You will come for the enthralling characters, the enchanting prose, and the perfectly choreographed fight scenes, but stay for the deeper insights into settler colonialism that Tanya provides. Next slide, please. Next, we have another debut. The Witch of Willow Sound is a dark, atmospheric gothic that is inspired by the dark secrets and superstitions of the East Coast, where the author Vanessa Penny grew up. The novel follows the rough and tough Fade and opens just as she learns that her Aunt Madeline has gone missing. Fade's mother sends her to the tiny town of Willow Sound to figure out what's happened to Madeline. But when she gets there, Fade finds that her aunt's cottage, which she remembers as like a fairy tale, idyllic cottage in the woods, is abandoned and rotting. Even more concerning, though, she finds a town full of hostile locals who are happy that Madeline's gone because they believe that she was a witch and that she was responsible for all of their bad luck. With a hurricane looming, and things getting spookier and stranger by the day, Fade teams up with a local archivist named Nish, whose sexuality and race make him an outsider in the town as well, to explore her aunt's house and find out what happened to her. And in doing so, they soon discover a history in the region that is far more sinister than what they could have bargained for. Since we posted it on NetGalley, The Witch of Willow Sound has absolutely exploded in popularity. We've received so many glowing reviews from readers, some of which you can read on screen. My favorite one was from a reader who said, "To say that I couldn't put this book down is an understatement. It made me late for work twice, and when I was at work, I was thinking about how soon I could get back to the book." They've called it beautifully written, with main characters I genuinely cared about, and a lingering eeriness that gets under your skin, and a powerful debut with soul and teeth. This book is perfect for readers of Amelia Hart's Wayward or Alex E. Harrow's The Once and Future Witches, as well as Our Wives Under the Sea. It's a spooky modern gothic tale with a steep feminist slant to it, a focus on found family, and amazing vibes. Like any good gothic, The Witch of Willow Sound points to what festers below the surface, or in the words of the author herself, The Witch of Willow Sound is a story about strong, defiant women and sheds light on what societies do with the people and past that they don't want. There are strange things ahead, and the woods are dark and deep. Dear reader, are you in? Next slide, please. Now we're moving into sci-fi. The First Thousand Trees is the thrilling conclusion to Premi Mohammed's celebrated trilogy. The trilogy began with The Annual Migration of Clouds in 2021, which was actually meant to be a standalone, but fans loved it so much they demanded a sequel, which we brought in 2024 with We Speak Through the Mountains. And now we have the conclusion to the series, which is bleaker than ever, but still with a glimmer of hope to it. The series is set in a post-apocalyptic world. After the climate apocalypse has kind of shut everything down, we follow a small community that's just starting to rebuild on a university campus. The first two books follow Reed, but the third book actually picks up after the end of book one, when Reed has left the community and follows her best friend, Henrik. At the end of book one, Henrik, who's an orphan, has made a huge mistake that led to a death of one of his community members, and now he's feeling ostracized. And with Reed gone, there's really nothing left for him in his campus community, so he decides that he's going to leave and try and seek out a new family in the woods, in the mysterious unknown. He finds his uncle's a village, but making a new life in this incredibly unfriendly place, rougher and more impoverished than even the community he grew up in, is not easy. And Henrik really struggles to carve out a place for himself, but learns that there are some corners of this broken world that are even darker than he could have imagined. The Annual Migration of Clouds is one of my favorite books that ECW has ever done. Honestly, one of my favorite books, period. Premi is an incredible writer, and I'm so excited that she's decided to expand the world that she created. When I was first pitching The Annual Migration of Clouds, I would call her a rising star in the SFF genre, but at this point she has firmly cemented herself as a star, period. Booklist called her one of the most unique and engaging voices in the genre, and she has been won or been nominated for pretty much every single SFF category or award that exists, from the World Fantasy Award to the Nebula Award. She's a 3-time British Fantasy Award finalist, 3-time Locus Award finalist, and an Ursula K. Le Guin Prize finalist. Please read this series. It's absolutely fantastic. Next slide, please. Next, we have Other Evolutions by Rebecca Hirsch Garcia. This is a searing, dark, and incredibly original debut novel by someone whose star is rising. Other Evolutions follows Alma, the sheltered youngest daughter of an interfaith, interracial Mexican-Jewish couple who very rarely ventures far from her home in Ottawa, in a small neighborhood where really nothing ever happens. The one time that she does leave home, it's to visit her sister Marnie, and it's during that trip that she learns that Marnie, who is blonde, has been passing herself off as white, erasing her Mexican heritage. The two sisters get into a huge fight about this, and Alma leaves with her friend Oliver, but the night ends in further disaster when the two get into a car accident that takes Alma's arm and takes Oliver's life. Fast forward to years later, Alma is still paralyzed by the grief and trauma of that night, but she thinks that she's finally ready to step out into the world again. But what happens when she does is that not far from home, she meets Oliver looking exactly the way that he did the day he died. Other Evolutions is a literary debut, but it's got a very dark and speculative twist that blurs the boundaries of reality to reveal the uncanny and the mundane and the weird and wonderful things that exist in our own backyard. And you have only to look at Rebecca's debut short story collection, The Girl Who Cried Diamonds and Other Stories, to see how absolutely fantastic she is at investigating the dark and monstrous parts of the everyday. Like a darker take on Britt Bennett's The Vanishing Half. This book is also perfect for readers of Jessica Johns' Bad Cree, Emily St. John Mandel's The Glass Hotel, or fans of Ian Reid. It is dark, it's genre bending, it's magical realism that explores grief, growth, and what it takes to survive. Next slide, please. Another debut, Veal by Mackenzie Nolan, is creepy, campy, queer horror that I can only really describe as like a gay grown-up Gravity Falls. It kind of has the action and humor of Zombieland, but like imagine that with a Chappell Roan soundtrack to it. The main character, Lawrence, has suffered a corporate meltdown and decides that she's going to pack up her bestie Stasia and head east, moving to the small town of Mistaken Point, which is known for two things: the university that the girls are enrolled in and a series of very grisly murders of young women. But they caught the guy, so everything is fine. Or is it? At her job, Lawrence meets the gritty and off-putting Frankie, who is convinced that it wasn't a man behind the murders, but an actual furry green-eyed monster. And so she is determined to hunt it down, and driven by her insatiable crush on Frankie, Lawrence allows herself and Stasia and Frankie's best friend Pippa to be dragged around for a summer of monster hunting between classes and days spent by the pool. Along the way, the girls might just discover a few truths about womanhood, love, female friendships, and how some urban legends are more than just stories. Mackenzie was inspired to write Veal in response to some very uncomfortable conversations that she was having around the Johnny Depp Amber Heard trials. Conversations with people who know what violence against women looks like, but really struggle to empathize with an unlikable woman. So while Veal is a really fun book, it's got a lot of jokes and great vibes, but it also has a lot to say about misogyny and the traumas that patriarchy inflicts on women, and what it takes to believe women who might not be straight or white or very well liked. If you loved Tell Me I'm Worthless by Alison Rumfitt, Mother Thing by Ainsley Hogarth, or Night Bitch by Rebecca Yoder, Rachel Yoder, sorry, you absolutely have to pick up Veal this fall. Next slide, please. So I just wanted to finish with some nonfiction. The latest in ECW's Pop Classic series. I always say that every indie press has their own tiny book series, and ours is the Pop Classics. These are tiny books that pack a big punch that look at some of our favorite pieces of pop culture. This summer, we published It Can't Rain All the Time, which looks at the 1994 hit The Crow, not its questionable 2024 remake. If you know anything about The Crow, it's likely that about the death of the movie's star, Brendan Lee. But in this book, pop culture writer Alicia Mughal argues that The Crow has really transcended Brendan Lee's death by excavating the most challenging human emotions in all of their dark, dramatic, and visceral glory. And it's that core that's made it so beloved to fans and led to 3 sequels, a remake, and an intense fandom. Alicia really leans into the emo vibes to write a truly original pop classic about how the film and the graphic novel can teach us a lot about grief, particularly that grief can never be cured no matter how much we try to wreak vengeance or distract ourselves from it. Instead, it offers a different path, one that means looking inward, recognizing pain, and allowing it to ebb, giving ourselves the grace and time to let it unfold as it needs to. And I also wanted to just mention, for the first time ever, you were the first to hear about our next pop classic. Next slide, please. Which I don't have a cover yet for, but it's called It's Only Forever, and it looks at the movie Labyrinth. For 40 years, Jim Henson's musical magical fantasy has captivated imaginations and transformed from a box office flop into an enormous cult classic that's still beloved and celebrated today. The author, Jess Battis, is an academic who explores how Labyrinth's immense cultural impact and especially its meaningfulness to queer and neurodivergent communities comes from the way that it really is a time capsule of the 80s, both reflecting and challenging the norms of its time. Jess is a queer and autistic academic who teaches queer and trans studies, medieval literature, and representations of disability and neurodiversity in pop culture, as well as the author of ECW's Own the Winter Knight, another fabulous fantasy that asks the question, what if Sir Gawain and the Green Knight had to solve a murder and were also in love? And you can pick that one up while you wait for the next pop classic. Next slide, just wrapping up with, we have tons and tons of other sci-fi and fantasy, horror and adventure books that you can find on our website. If you scroll through the next slide, the next 2 slides, you'll find our contact information. I highly encourage you to sign up for our newsletter where you'll find out, you'll stay on top of all of the new books that we have. Next slide. More contact information. And thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Ellen. And a big thank you to all of today's presenters. Tomorrow, all attendees will receive an email containing links to today's slide presentation, title list, certificate of completion, and video recording. For more about Booklist webinars, be sure to visit booklistonline.com/webinars, where you can view archives of past webinars and register for upcoming ones like those you see here. You can also find out about the latest webinars on our social channels. Visit us on Instagram, Facebook, LinkedIn, and now Blue Sky. Booklist 2025 Guide to Graphic Novels in Libraries is here. This year's special issue features articles on how to combat self-censorship, graphic memoirs for teens, readers' advisory tips, cat manga, and so much more. The digital issue is free and open to everyone on the Booklist website. Head over to start reading now. Thank you for joining us for today's webinar. One more huge thank you to our panelists and to our sponsors, Sourcebooks, HarperCollins, Macmillan, and ECW Press. This concludes today's webinar. See you next time.